I am deeply aware of this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty.
The United Kingdom has been shaken by a shocking revelation. King Charles has officially finished and handed over a very secret will that explains the royal line of succession. A major change in power is quietly happening inside the palace walls. Full control, huge wealth, and royal titles are being given to the chosen heir. These events strongly show that a very big moment may be coming soon. The crowning of a new king. News channels around the world are full of guesses and rumors. What is the king's real health condition? Why is this process happening so fast? The public is still confused and is asking for clear answers. At a very important time, that powerful will, a document that decides the future of the whole royal family, became the target of a planned attack while it was being moved. What exactly is written inside this paper that would make enemies take such dangerous risks to get it? Now that this important document has been switched, what will happen next for the monarchy? And after all this, how will power inside the royal family finally be decided? King Charles sat quietly, his body slightly bent under the weight of his robe. But his eyes stayed sharp, showing a man shaped by a lifetime of getting ready to rule. Standing across from him was Sir Edward, his loyal butler and most trusted aide, who had faithfully served the royal family since the time of Queen Elizabeth. With his hands politely folded, Edward stood in silence, waiting for the king's final command. Charles slowly pushed a cream-colored envelope toward the edge of his desk. It was sealed with dark red wax, marked with his personal seal. This was not a normal paper. It carried serious power. The special will inside had been written during many long sleepless nights, created from a deep struggle between his personal feelings and his duty to protect the monarchy. Inside it were strict rules. Camilla, his current wife, would have no control over the Duchy of Cornwall or any royal property. Every single asset, without any exception, would go directly to Prince William if Charles died or could no longer rule. Camilla would only receive a small allowance, enough for her daily needs, but not enough to give her any real power. "Edward," Charles said, his voice quiet and tired. "You understand the danger of carrying something this sensitive to London. I cannot trust any messenger, not even official government channels. You are the only person I trust." Edward nodded his head slightly, taking the envelope without any doubt. He carefully placed it into a hidden section inside his old leather briefcase, something that had been with him through many years of royal service. "You have my word, Your Majesty. Unless I die, this will be on Prince William's desk by morning." There was no long goodbye. Edward turned around and walked out of the room with clear purpose. Within minutes, his black Land Rover left Balmoral, fading into the dark night of the Scottish Highlands. What Edward did not know was that his trip had already been put in danger. A few miles away, hidden around a curve in the road behind a group of pine trees, a silver-grey sports car sat quietly, its lights turned off like a hunter waiting for the right moment. Sitting inside was Julian, a secret agent working for Camilla. He was not officially part of the royal staff, but he was a skilled handler of information and a quiet planner, someone Camilla had trained during the years she faced public criticism. His phone buzzed softly with a coded message. "Target has left the nest. Package is moving." A small smile appeared on Julian's face as he started the engine. He kept a safe distance, fully aware of Edward's careful habits. The experienced driver always followed one strict rule. After every 4 hours of driving, he would stop for exactly 15 minutes to drink coffee and check his car. The next planned stop was at a quiet rest area along the A1 road near the border between England and Scotland. At 2 in the morning, heavy rain started falling. The rest stop appeared under weak yellow lights, looking empty and cold. Right on time, Edward drove in and parked close to the restroom area where he could be clearly seen. He stepped out, stretching his body to relax, then walked toward the vending machine. As always, he locked the car carefully, a habit he never forgot, even though it would not help against what had already been planned. Julian gave the signal. From a hidden spot in the truck parking area, an old pickup truck suddenly moved forward quickly. Its driver, a poorly paid criminal hired by Julian, acted like he had lost control. The vehicle slid across the wet road and hit the back of Edward's Land Rover. The crash was planned, loud enough to get attention and break the taillights, but not strong enough to damage the car's structure. The sound of the crash spread through the empty rest area. Edward jumped in shock, spilling his coffee, and quickly ran back toward the vehicle in panic. The pickup driver staggered out, smelling strongly of alcohol, though the smell came from drink that had been purposely poured on his clothes, and he started speaking in a messy, slurred way. While Edward was completely busy dealing with the man who seemed drunk and checking the damage, Julian made his move. Wearing black clothes and blending into the darkness, he came close from the passenger side, staying in Edward's blind spot. Taking out a small magnetic device, he unlocked the door. Click. The door opened quietly without any sound. Julian slipped into the back seat quickly and smoothly. His eyes immediately found Edward's briefcase. He did not take it right away. Instead, he pulled out another briefcase from his own bag, one that looked almost exactly the same in every detail. From the worn leather and faded color to the marks on the handle, everything matched. It was made after 2 weeks of careful watching and copying. The switch was done in less than 10 seconds. Julian placed the fake briefcase exactly where the real one had been, took the real one, and disappeared quietly into the darkness. When Edward came back after writing down the pickup truck's license plate while the driver quickly drove away, he sat in his seat and looked in the rearview mirror. The briefcase looked untouched. He let out a breath of relief, not knowing that what was behind him was only an empty fake. The Land Rover moved back onto the road, continuing its trip toward London, carrying with it a dangerous false sense of safety. At Raymill, Camilla's private home in Wiltshire, it was 4 in the morning. The whole house was silent, with everyone asleep, except for the study room on the ground floor. Camilla sat alone, holding a glass of red wine that was almost finished. She could not sleep. A lifetime of dealing with problems had made her instincts very sharp. And tonight, those instincts told her that everything would be decided. The sound of tires on gravel outside made her sit up straight immediately. Moments later, the side door opened, and Julian walked in. He was soaked from the rain, but his face showed clear success. Without wasting any time, he placed the leather briefcase on the glass coffee table. "It's done," Julian said shortly, still breathing heavily. Camilla rushed toward him, her hands shaking as she unlocked the case. She pulled out the envelope and tore it open quickly, not even using a letter opener. Her eyes moved fast across Charles's handwriting. The room became very quiet, broken only by the ticking of the clock and the sound of her breathing getting heavier every second. Her face changed, first tight, then shocked, and finally full of anger. "A small allowance," she said in a sharp whisper, her voice breaking with anger. "How dare he? After everything I have gone through, I was the one who supported him when his mother died. I stood with him when the whole world turned against him. And now he wants me to live like a lonely widow, depending on William's kindness." She threw the paper onto the floor, sending pages flying everywhere, and began walking back and forth. She held her head in frustration. "William will throw me out of the palace the day after the funeral. I know it. He hates me completely." Julian, not affected, calmly bent down and picked up the papers one by one, arranging them neatly before placing them back on the table. He showed no fear of her anger. Instead, his eyes looked thoughtful, like someone carefully judging a situation. "You have 2 choices, Your Majesty," Julian said, his cold voice cutting through her anger. "Accept what is coming, or change it." Camilla stopped and turned quickly toward him. "And how exactly do I change it? Charles wrote this himself. His signature is on it." Julian took out a lighter and lit a small blue flame. "Paper and ink can be destroyed. But that is not the real problem. William is waiting for this document. Edward will reach Kensington in the morning. If he arrives without it or says it was stolen, William will become suspicious and start an investigation. What we need is a replacement." Camilla narrowed her eyes, understanding what he meant, but also seeing the hidden meaning behind his words. "What do you want, Julian?" A small smile appeared on his lips, but it had no warmth. "I took a big risk to get this. Interfering with a royal messenger and stealing a document of this level brings very serious consequences. I need protection. 10 million and a seat on the Privy Council once you gain power." "You're completely crazy," Camilla said angrily. Julian slowly lifted his phone. "Agree, or I will give this to William and tell him that you hired me to steal it. But I changed my mind at the last second. I have recorded your instructions." Camilla tightened her jaw. She knew she had created a dangerous partner, but now she was stuck. "Fine," she said through her teeth. "You will get what you want, but first I need a new will right now." For the next 2 hours, the study room turned into a high-level forgery setup. Julian had already prepared everything earlier. Real royal paper that had been collected long ago, special fountain pens, and most importantly, a handwriting expert helping through a secure video call. Camilla spoke the content she wanted. She was careful not to ask for too much, which could cause doubt. Instead, She made a smarter plan. Charles would seem sorry for the pressure Camilla had faced and would give her 30% of the estate's income for charity work and to keep her position strong. Also, she would get the power to reject decisions about palace staff, saying it was to protect his legacy. Julian, with the skill of an expert forger, copied every detail. He recreated the slight shake in Charles's writing, the unique shape of his letters, and the style of his signature. When the document was finished, he sealed it with a fake wax stamp made using 3D printing. The fake letter was then placed into a new envelope, slightly worn so it looked like it had traveled a long distance. "And now?" Camilla asked, staring at the envelope with strong focus. "I will have it sent to Kensington early this morning using the internal courier system," Julian explained. "It will be shown as an urgent delivery from Edward, saying he became sick after the accident and could not deliver it himself. William will receive it and believe it is real." Camilla slowly nodded, a cold smile forming on her lips. "Make sure it is perfect," she said quietly. "Everything depends on that envelope." The morning at Kensington was covered in thick London fog. William woke up earlier than usual. Even though he tried to follow his normal routine, a feeling of worry stayed inside him. He knew Edward was on the way. He knew his father was planning a quiet transfer of power. Sitting in his study, William looked through his tablet, but his attention stayed on the door. A knock broke the silence. His assistant walked in and placed an envelope on the desk. "Your Highness, this is an urgent delivery from Sir Edward." The courier said Sir Edward had a small health problem and had to send it through official channels. "A health problem?" William asked, frowning as he picked up the envelope. "Is he okay?" "Early reports say he was in a small car accident and caught a chill from the rain. He is now resting at a private clinic," the assistant replied. William nodded and told the assistant to leave. He looked closely at the envelope. The seal was still closed, and the handwriting clearly belonged to his father. Taking a slow breath, he used a letter opener to open it. Inside, he unfolded the paper. A light smell of fine paper stayed in the air as he started reading. The first lines showed care and duty. But when he reached the part about how power would be shared, his eyes opened wide in shock. He blinked and read it again. "I trust you understand that Camilla is my only companion. So, I have decided to give her 30% of the estate's income for her personal use. Also, all major staff decisions inside Buckingham Palace must be approved by the Queen Consort." For a moment, it felt like the blood in William's body had stopped, then rushed quickly with heat. He hit his hand hard on the desk, knocking over his teacup. "Ridiculous!" he shouted, his voice loud in the room. In the next room, Kate, who was arranging flowers, heard the shout and quickly came in. "William, what happened?" He stood up, his face red with anger, his hand shaking as he gave her the paper. "Read this. Father has lost his mind, or she has fully controlled him." Kate took the letter and quickly read through it. Her face lost all color. "Dividing the estate income and giving control over staff decisions. William, this goes against the rules and royal traditions that have existed for hundreds of years. A queen consort has never had this kind of power." "I know," William said, starting to walk back and forth like a trapped animal. "She is trying to take control. With that money and influence, she could create her own support system. One strong enough to challenge us after father is gone. And father agreed to it. He has betrayed all of us." He stopped near the window, looking out at the dull grey garden. His disappointment in his father's weakness hurt more deeply than his anger toward Camilla. He had hoped that in his final decisions, Charles would think clearly again. But this letter showed the opposite. It showed how strong Camilla's control had become. "What are you going to do?" Kate asked softly, placing her hand on his shoulder. "I'm not going to call him. I won't let him hide behind excuses about his health," William said, turning toward her, his eyes full of strong determination. "I'm going to Buckingham Palace right now. I want him to stand in front of me and say every word written in this nonsense." He took the letter and placed it inside his coat pocket. "Get the car ready," he ordered, "and inform security. I want full privacy." The tension inside King Charles's office at Buckingham Palace was tight and heavy. William stood across from his father, the two of them separated by a large desk covered with official papers. Charles looked tired, his face pale, but his son's sudden and strong entrance made him alert. "You come in here accusing me of betrayal," Charles said, trying to stay calm, "when I have just given you full control of the kingdom." "Control?" William let out a short, bitter laugh. He pulled the envelope from his coat and threw it onto the desk. You call this control? Giving her 30% of the estate and power over palace staff? Is that what you call giving power to me? Charles looked confused. He picked up the document and adjusted his glasses. What are you talking about? I never. His voice stopped as he read the words. His hands shook slightly. He looked up at William, then back down at the paper, disbelief filling his tired eyes. This is my handwriting, my signature, he said quietly. But I did not write these words. I swear it, William. I wrote the exact opposite. I removed all her power. William watched his father carefully, looking for any sign of lying, but he saw only real shock. Then explain this, William said sharply. Why is it here? Edward delivered it to me. Edward, Charles said quickly, pressing the intercom. Bring Sir Edward here right now. I don't care about his condition. Bring him here immediately. 15 minutes later, Sir Edward was helped into the room. He looked weak, still wearing the same clothes from the night before. The moment he saw the document in Charles's hand, he dropped heavily into a chair. Your Majesty, Your Highness, he said in a weak voice. Did you deliver this? William asked, pointing at the paper. Edward took the letter and looked over it quickly before shaking his head in fear. No, never. The document I carried was completely different. I sealed it myself. Oh God, the accident. With clear distress, Edward explained what had happened the night before. I only left the briefcase for a few moments to check the car. When I looked again, it was still there. It wasn't, William said coldly. It was replaced. He stepped forward, took the document from Edward, and studied it closely, now thinking like an investigator. Holding it up to the light coming through the window, he checked every small detail. Father, look here, William said, pointing to a corner of the page. Official royal paper always has a Tudor crown watermark. But this paper, he rubbed his thumb over it. It feels different. Too smooth. And the watermark. William narrowed his eyes as a faint mark appeared under the light. A shaped fleur-de-lis inside an oval. This belongs to Camilla, he said firmly, his voice becoming hard. She orders this special paper from a private workshop in Florence. You never use it. Whoever made this fake copied your handwriting perfectly, but made the mistake of using her own paper. King Charles leaned back into his chair, holding his chest as the truth became clear, strong, and impossible to deny. The woman he had defended, the one he had fought his own family to marry, had not only betrayed him, but had also planned to trick his heir. She would go this far, Charles whispered, his voice shaking. She is capable of anything, William replied, his anger now turning into a cold and careful determination. And I will prove it. I will find whoever switched Edward's briefcase and bring them into the open. After leaving Buckingham Palace, William went straight to MI5 headquarters. As the future king, and with emergency permission given by Charles, who was still in shock, he demanded immediate access to the National Traffic Surveillance Network. Pull all camera footage from the A1 rest stop between 1 and 3 a.m. today, William told the technical team. The large screen in the operations room lit up, showing rough black and white recordings. But advanced image tools quickly made the pictures clearer, showing important details. William stood next to the head of royal security, both watching carefully. Pause, William said suddenly, the moment the pickup truck hit Edward's car. Play that in slow motion. On the screen, as Edward bent down to check the damage, a dark figure slipped into the car from the back. A nearby shop camera, even though it was far away, caught part of the person's face as he turned his head. William narrowed his eyes, recognizing the features, the sharp nose, the neatly styled hair. Julian, he said quietly. Julian H., Camilla's so-called media advisor. Identity confirmed, the security chief said, typing quickly. Julian H. is currently at his home in Chelsea. He has also booked a flight to Nice for this afternoon. Arrest him, William ordered without any delay. He does not leave London. Bring him to a secure place. I will question him myself. 2 hours later, Julian sat in a quiet, windowless interrogation room, facing William across a cold metal table. He had been arrested just as he was about to leave his apartment with a packed suitcase. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by clear fear as he faced the prince. William placed a set of evidence on the table. Pictures from the cameras, along with financial records recently found by intelligence officers. These papers showed a large amount of money transferred from a hidden company linked to Camilla into Julian's secret offshore account. Do you understand the punishment for treason, Julian? William asked, his voice calm but heavy. Faking the king's will, stopping a royal messenger, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. And I promise you, she will not protect you. She will say you acted alone to save herself. Julian started shaking badly. No one knew Camilla's cold nature better than him. He had always been someone who could be easily replaced. And now everything had turned against him. I was only following orders, he said with difficulty. I need proof, William replied. Not excuses. Evidence. Lowering his head, Julian slowly took off his expensive watch. He opened it and pulled out a tiny memory card hidden inside. Everything is saved here, he said weakly. A recording of her call last night giving the order, and a digital copy of the Real will before I destroyed it. And there is more. More? William asked, lifting an eyebrow. For the past 5 years, Julian continued, his voice filled with fear, every rumor about you and Princess Kate, the stories about her mental health, the claims about your cheating, it all came from Camilla. She paid me to leak stories to the media. She wanted to damage your image so Charles would see you as unfit, making it easier for her to control him. William picked up the memory card, holding it tightly until his knuckles turned white. A wave of anger rushed through him. The nights Kate had quietly broken down because of public pressure. The times his children were dragged into scandals. All of it had been planned. You made the right choice, in the end, Julian, William said, standing up and putting the card into his pocket. If you help and speak the truth, your punishment may be reduced. For now, stay here and hope for the best. Night fell over London, but Buckingham Palace stayed brightly lit, especially in the East Wing, where the Queen Consort lived. William walked through the long empty hallway, his footsteps echoing in a steady, cold rhythm. He came alone, without any guards. This was not a matter for outsiders. It was personal, and he planned to deal with it himself. He pushed open the door to Camilla's private sitting room. She was sitting on a velvet sofa, holding a magazine, but not really reading it. Her eyes were fixed on nothing. She had already felt something was wrong when Julian became unreachable during the afternoon. The moment she saw William, she flinched slightly, then quickly tried to control herself. William, haven't you been taught to knock? She said, forcing a calm tone. William did not answer. He walked straight to the table in front of her and placed a memory card and a file of evidence down on it. He opened the file. Inside were photos of Julian in handcuffs and written records of recorded conversations. It's over, Camilla, William said quietly, his voice heavy and final. The game is finished. Camilla looked at the photo. All the color left her face. She tried to hide her fear with a small mocking smile, but it came out stiff and fake. What are you talking about? Julian is nothing but a liar, and you believe him. Without responding, William pressed play on a small recorder. Camilla's own voice filled the room, clear and unmistakable. I want William to receive that letter, but the contents must be changed. She froze at once and leaned back into the sofa. You've been spying on me, she said. There was no need, William replied, turning the recorder off. Your partner gave you up to save himself. My father has heard everything. He is in the next room, but he refuses to see you. He has left this matter to me. William then placed 2 documents on the table. Option 1, he said, sliding the first toward her. We make everything public. You will be charged with forging royal documents, financial crimes, and treason. Your titles will be removed, and you will face trial. The result will almost certainly be prison. Camilla's hands shook as she looked at it. The thought of public shame, standing in front of the world exposed, was unbearable to her pride. Option 2, William continued, placing the second paper in front of her. You sign these divorce papers and step away from public life because of serious health issues. You leave tonight and go to a remote estate near the Scottish border, given by the Crown. No contact. No communication. Constant supervision. You disappear permanently. I am the Queen Consort, Camilla whispered, tears running through her makeup. You never deserved that title, William cut in coldly. My mother did. You are nothing but an imposter, and now you will face the consequences. Camilla looked around the luxurious room one last time, then out the window at the bright lights of London, the world she had spent her life trying to control. Now she was being forced out of it in disgrace. Her shaking hand picked up the pen. Slowly, she signed the second document. The signature was uneven, broken, like everything she had built collapsing in real time. "Pack only what you brought with you," William said, taking the signed papers without looking at her again. "A car is waiting at the back entrance." The next morning, Buckingham Palace's balcony shone under soft early light. A large crowd gathered below, waving flags and cheering, unaware of what had happened overnight. King Charles stepped out, looking older and weaker, but calmer. Beside him stood William and Kate, steady and composed. In front of them, George, Charlotte, and Louis waved to the crowd. Camilla was gone. An official statement had been released at 8 a.m. Queen Consort Camilla has stepped back from all public duties and has retired to Scotland for health reasons. On the balcony, William gently held his father's hand, then turned and took Kate's hand firmly. He looked out at the cheering crowd. A new balance had returned. No hidden control. No unseen influence. Power had returned to where it belonged. And standing in the morning light, William felt he had protected the monarchy, not through force, but through truth and resolve. Far away, on a highway heading north, a black car moved through the rain. In the back seat, a lone woman sat in silence. Through the fogged window, she watched the shape of London disappear behind her. With it went the life she had tried so hard to control, now gone forever. William ultimately chose to remove Camilla from public life rather than imprison her, in order to protect the royal family's image. Do you think this was a necessary act of mercy, or was it too soft given the damage caused to Kate and the betrayal involved?